Tonight, at the Dreamland Motel, we're doing something a little different. Not one of our big files, not a case to solve, just a moment. This episode is for those quiet pauses in your day when you need to step away from the desk, when the dishes need doing, or when you simply lie back on your bed for 20 minutes and breathe. Because even in those moments, the strange is never far away. And on the day this video was released, June 17th, his birthday, we take a quiet moment to remember the man who kept the night company for so many of us. The voice behind the hum of distant frequencies. Art Bell. Once again, thank you for checking in. And if you like what you hear, please consider giving us a like and a subscribe. It does really help the videos. Now, let's begin. Art Bell was born June 17th, 1945, in North Carolina. Even as a teenager, he was already chasing voices across the airwaves, earning his amateur radio license by the age of 13, broadcasting as KN3JOX, a call sign that would follow him for decades. Radio wasn't just a hobby, it was an obsession. Ham sets, soldering irons, glowing tubes deep into the night. The quiet magic of hearing voices appear out of nothing from across the world. Later, Art served as a medic in the US Air Force during Vietnam. Even there, radio pulled at him. At Amarillo Air Force Base, he quietly ran a pirate station, playing anti-war rock records under the military's nose. After the service, Art moved to Okinawa, Japan, spending 6 years as a disc jockey. It was there he set one of his earliest records, staying on the air for more than 100 consecutive hours, raising money for Vietnamese orphans. Eventually, he returned to the US, this time to Las Vegas. By 1978, Art was hosting late-night talk on KDWN. At first, politics, current events, call-ins. But the night had other plans. In 1988, he renamed the program Coast to Coast AM. And as the 1990s crept forward, the show's tone shifted, leaning further into the strange, the forbidden, and the unexplained. In 1994, Art launched a weekly spin-off called, quite aptly, Dreamland. A simple name for a growing world of complex, unanswerable questions. UFOs, ghosts, time travelers, secret technologies, and the people brave or reckless enough to talk about them. They came in droves, the callers, the experts, the witnesses, the insomniacs, the lonely, the curious, the hopeful, and the afraid. Art didn't shout, he didn't mock, he listened. Because he understood something most broadcasters never quite do. Sometimes, the story isn't as important as the act of telling it, the courage it takes to speak aloud, in the dead of night. By the late 1990s, Coast to Coast AM was syndicated on over 460 stations, reaching as many as 15 million listeners a night. And from there, an entire midnight mythology was born. There were thousands of strange moments on Art's show, but tonight we'll visit just a few. Nights where the world seemed to lean a little closer to the speaker. On September the 11th, 1997, Art opened his lines. A voice came through, frantic, broken, terrified. A man claiming to be a former employee of Area 51, recently discharged. They're extra-dimensional beings, not what they claim to be. The military is moving populations to safe zones, but not everyone. Art stayed steady. He let him speak, as he always did. And then, the unthinkable. The broadcast was suddenly disrupted. Dead air. When the feed finally returned, Art was audibly shaken, the timing impossible to ignore. A satellite failure? Perhaps. Or perhaps not. The call and the outage became instant mythology. A moment where the weird didn't just visit the show, it interrupted it. Then there was Mel Waters, and his impossible hole. The first call came on February 21st, 1997. Mel claimed to have discovered a perfectly round, seemingly bottomless pit on his rural property in Washington state. He lowered a fishing line down, weighted spools vanishing into darkness, never hitting bottom. He spoke of strange effects near the hole. Dead animals lowered into it came back alive. Radio signals behaved oddly. Mel claimed government agents seized the land, though no evidence has ever surfaced to confirm that. In fact, no map, no neighbour, and no investigation has ever verified the hole's existence at all. And yet the story lingers, not because it was proven, but because it was told. Because somewhere we still wonder, what if? There was another voice too, one that didn't come through the phone lines, but through the early internet. In July of 1998, Art received 2 faxes from a man named John Titor, a soldier, he claimed, from the year 2036. He warned of civil war beginning around 2005, a fractured United States and a global conflict by 2015. He described time travel in elaborate detail, miniature black holes, gravity distortions, and multiverse models. At one point, he claimed to have been sent back to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, an obscure model capable of debugging legacy code critical to his future. Most of his predictions never came to pass, or perhaps, as he suggested, his timeline simply branched away from ours. But that wasn't really why we listened. We listened because for a brief moment, the idea felt close enough to touch. Because it asked, if you could look ahead, would you? And if you did, would you like what you see? Eventually, Titor vanished, as mysteriously as he arrived. But for those few nights, time itself seemed to bend just slightly around the signal. Of course, it wasn't just the callers, it was the guests. Art filled his nights with voices from every corner of the unknown, some credentialed, some ridiculed, some who became legends themselves. Physicists like Michio Kaku, UFO investigators like Stanton Friedman, whistleblowers like Bob Lazar, ancient structures with Richard C. Hoagland, spiritual warfare with Father Malachi Martin, time travelers, remote viewers, shadowy insiders, men and women who claimed to have seen the gears behind the curtain. Some were brilliant, some were troubled, some were often both. But Art never shouted them down. He never demanded belief. He simply pulled up a chair and said, "Tell us your story." And for a few hours each night, he let us sit at the edge of that table, wondering how much of it might be true. That was Art's true magic. Not the guests, not the callers, not even the stories. It was the invitation, the simple act of saying, "You're not alone out there." Truckers driving the interstate, night shift workers sitting in dark offices, insomniacs staring at blinking digital clocks. People who, for whatever reason, found comfort in knowing someone else was awake too. Art didn't push you to believe. He didn't need you to believe. He just left the line open for the strange, for the lonely, for us. Art Bell passed away on April 13th, 2018 in Nevada. But in a way, he never really left. His legacy continues. In podcasts, in YouTube channels, in forums, in whispers around campfires, in quiet motel rooms at 2 a.m. Here at the Dreamland Motel, we keep a little space on the dial open for him. The guest book signed, Art Was Here. Happy birthday to both Art and my friend at the Psychoactivo podcast, Pavel. Thank you, Art, for keeping us company in the night, for showing us how to listen to the impossible. Good night, everyone, wherever you are.